Hey everybody, welcome to the Crit House. I'm Jeff Larson, and we are continuing our My Five series where we bring in people, sometimes photographers, sometimes photo professionals, sometimes just people on the street, to talk about 5 images that have had some significance to them. And today we are rejoined on the Crit House by Elin Spring. Thanks for joining us, Elin. It's nice to have you back.
It's good to be here.
So for all of you out there, Elin is the founder and the editor of an online New England-based photography magazine called What Will You Remember? It is a great resource for folks to get information and reviews and all the things that they write about. Elin is an independent curator. She juries photography competitions and exhibitions. She also conducts portfolio reviews. Her photography writing was recognized by the Scribe FOCUS Award from the Griffin Museum. And back in the day as a photographer, she specialized in professional portraiture. And Elin, like I said, it's great to have you back on the Crit House.
Thank you very much.
So one thing I wanted to ask. So I gave you a little bio there. Like, how do you talk about yourself in the photographic world these days? Like, what if somebody asks you, what do you do photographically? What do you tell them?
Photographically. Well, I say that I'm the founder and editor of an online photography magazine, but mostly what I do is appreciate and critique photography. So the writing is all very analytic. When we're doing reviews, we try to be very image heavy and with condensed writing. And my partner Suzanne Ravi and I teach writing workshops as well. Teaching and portfolio reviews, and I'm a juror for Critical Mass, which is coming right up. So that's what I do. I don't really identify as a photographer anymore, although I started as everyone does, as an amateur photographer, and then for a good 20 years I had a portrait photography business on the North Shore of Boston. So portraiture has always been very close to my heart.
So we have 5 images that you have chosen. Tell us, like, what did you go through in choosing these 5 images? And then we'll talk about the images.
Okay. Well, first of all, when I was thinking of what images, naturally I turned to portraiture. Always been a favorite of mine. And in this sort of post-COVID moment when connections have been frayed, I sort of focused on the idea of kinship. So not necessarily familial, but a very strong undercurrent of kinship of various types. And what I did was focused on images that you can see now, either in exhibitions that are on view for a while longer, and I'll tell you where and when, or also there are 2 that are from recently published books.
Well, let's take a look at the images. Elin Spring, your first image is this amazing shot of Sally Mann's daughter and her husband, if I'm correct.
No, it's not actually.
Oh.
This is from Sally Mann's first book called At 12, which was published in 1988. This picture is Lee and her father. It was taken in 1983. And this picture actually did influence my own portraiture. And I've always loved this image. I can see myself in it, but I think anybody who's 12 you're at a threshold where you're going from childhood into your teen years, and she's still in the under the protection and shelter of her parents, but she's about to step out. So you could see this in the way she's being held by her dad. And, you see the other adults around the table in the background. That's where she's headed, into that world, but she is still being sheltered in the arms and in the world of childhood by her father. And I think that you can feel this threshold. Also, her look to me says, don't come any closer. That look of hers is holding the viewer at bay. This is my safe spot. Don't intrude. So there's this circle of life going on, and the curve of the chair and the curve of the arm and the curve of the girl and the curve of the table is it's inclusive. It's yeah.
Not to
And you
mention,
see this off to the left. I love the way the balance is, because you see basically a path into the future, which is out of focus. The
Yeah.
father's looking that way. You just see this child's future.
yes, yeah.
It's a stunning photograph in my opinion. It encompasses so much. She's not hostile, but she really is feeling very protective of her situation. Oh, and I should say, I'm sorry, that the Sally Mann photograph is on view now in an exhibit called Drawn to Light, which is at the Portland Museum of Art in Maine through September 10th. Okay, next. So Kristen Joy Emac has a series called Cousins, wherein she photographed her daughters and their cousins growing up from toddlerhood to now. And they are, her daughter is now in high school, the older cousin is in college, and it's a whole different relationship. But it starts young. This book is just, hot off the press. She just got them. So anyway, this one is called Crown. And the reason why I love this, in addition, again, to this black and white composition, which is so beautifully balanced and contrasts a hard surface, which I think symbolizes the outside world, and the communion of these two cousins, the older one who's drawing a crown on the younger one, as if to say, you mean a lot to me. You are my queen. I've got your back. And the younger one, the way she's looking off, she's pensive. Maybe she's considering her future. Maybe she's considering, we don't know, but it's a very tranquil look and sort of an accepting look. You can do what you want with me. I trust you implicitly. And you have the beautiful hands of the cousin, so caring and so graceful. There's no tension in those hands. And she's anointing her younger cousin with her love, and the softness of the hands and the fabric and the beautiful skin and the little mask is, contrast with the hardness of the outside world. And so I think you see this kinship all over this picture, in the composition, in the texture, and of course in the symbolic action of that support and love. So this is Jess T. Dugan, and they were a local artist. They live in St. Louis now. Throughout Jess's career, they've always taken pictures at least once a year with their mom. So this is Jess and their mother. They're always very sort of bare bones, raw pictures. Some of them are nude. Of course, I could not include anything like that here. But also, this is a very recent picture. And it's called Self-Portrait with Mom. And it's from 2020. And it's from a series that they're doing called Family Pictures. And this is an ongoing series. Jess and their partner, they have a 4-year-old daughter. Jess is starting to incorporate their family into all of these portraits. So Kinship is actually the name of the exhibit. It's at the National Portrait Gallery in Washington, D.C. It will be there through January 7th, 2024. And it has all kinds of wonderful portraits in it. But the intensity of this relationship, and often sort of a mother-daughter relationship is intense, as father-son relationships can be, yes, because there's a push and a pull. You are like your same-sex parent, but also trying to gain independence from the shadow of that parent. One of the reasons I find this very touching is Jess's mom is, well, they're all enveloped in one another. There's a lot of touching. Jess is leaning on their mother, and the mother has a supportive hand on Jess's shoulder. But the intensity of her look is that the mother's look is this sort of knowledge of what the child is facing in life going forward as a parent themselves. The fact that they're in a bed together is like the greatest form of intimacy, yes, but everything is very muted, the grays, the blacks. so that what you see is the gestures and the skin and that kind of connectiveness. The way Jess is looking at the camera is they are looking into the future, and the mother is looking at Jess's present and future. So many connections going on there.
You know, I have to say, Ellen, the listening to you talk about these images makes me realize why you're such a good writer. No, it really does. And so thanks first of all for showing the images, but thank you for the in-depth and the sensitivity that you talk about them. This is your fourth image.
Yes. Okay, this is an image, a very old image actually, by Willis Thomas, who's a multimedia artist, probably most famous in Boston right now for The Hug, which pays tribute to a huge sculpture that pays tribute to Martin Luther King.
I did not make that tie to it. That's good.
Yeah, okay. That's who this is. Anyway, this is from 2002, from a series that he did called Bearing Witness. And it is presently in a show called As We Rise at the Peabody Essex Museum in Salem, Massachusetts through December 31st, 2023. And I just saw the show again for the second time. It is phenomenal. I think that it is the blockbuster show of the summer. If there's, I would say, do not miss this one. It is, and I've written a review. Suzanne and I wrote a review of this on our site if you want to get an idea of the background. But this photograph is called Jermaine and Logan, and it's very large in the exhibit. And these men are in a gang, and they are at the funeral of one of their gang members. So this shows vulnerability you do not usually see in men in a group like that. And it is just stunning to me. And the kinship that they share it's strong and unspoken. But for example, if you looked at each one individually, it does not have the power of both of them together. It encompasses two very different types of emotions. The one on the left is just plain old mournful. I mean, absolutely sad. The one on the right, who is tearful, the way he's looking to the camera says to me, but this could be me. It's a realization of how fleeting and how fragile life is. It speaks a little to the past of why this situation occurred, the anger that caused the death and the retribution that probably will go forward from this are very different from this moment, where suddenly they become human and vulnerable and very connected. There's a very deep bond there where they become one with the man who died, one with each other. And they're showing basically two different aspects of the very mixed feelings that go on in a tragedy like this. So this is a different kind of a kinship. This is by Astrid Ratio. It's from the Spin Club Tapestry series in her book called Spin Club Stories. So this photograph, a lot is revealed in the title of this photograph. It is called Four Did Not Return. There's a clear reference to war.
Yep.
So what Astrid does is she weaves together, this is a story of kinship that is a sense of community, and it's intergenerational. So the photograph is of kids from a town where she grew up. There are some couples, you see some laps sitting on the far left and the far right. In the back row, you have two people looking at each other, but it is a group, maybe they're celebrating graduation or something. Yeah. And they're clearly all celebrating, and they were very close-knit group. And then what you see is, that's their present. It is mounted against embroidery from the past. I think that the embroidery really represents how they're enveloped by their community and rooted in a past in this small town. And then what Astrid does is she continues the line. She embroiders herself onto these photographs, and she continues the line. This line, to me, is a bloodline. It ties together the past and the present. It ties together this group, but it also fractures them. The war fractured everybody, it fractured the community, and it fractured this group, which gave rise to the title, Four Did Not Return. And I think that it shows so beautifully the dichotomy, the rupture and the connection of this group of kids with the future ahead of them, celebratory. That's what makes it so poignant. You know, it's not a straight ahead shot where everybody's looking solemnly into the camera like most graduation shots. They're clearly engaged with each other and celebrating something, and then their world cracked open.
So I'm gonna repeat myself. So I'm sorry about that, but thank you for bringing that together, because you know, I'm a fairly straight photographic guy. You know, I'm not educated. You know, I go out in the street and I snap, and I don't create things in the same way that Astrid has with this. But clearly she has thought about this more deeply than just making a picture, and your story about it and the explanation of the different elements of it now make me appreciate this image in a way that I never would have on my own.
Oh, good.
So, Ellen, really honestly, I mean, it's what a pleasure it is to have you come on and talk about these images. I hope we can do it again. I hope we can do it again, because I mean, I just, like I say, this is for folks to learn, and you are an amazing, provide amazing insight and tell a good story. And
well, I'm passionate about these photographs, so I'm very happy to share my feelings.
clearly.
So,
Well,
thank you for inviting me.
No, absolutely. It was great having you on. And thank you all for watching the Crit House.